My name is Cameron Evesque Davis, and I am the composer and producer for the theme song and the score for Hunted. Today I wanted to talk to everybody about the thought process and the elements I used in the composing for the theme for Hunted, the pilot for Hunted that we are producing. When I first started and I was thinking about the elements I really wanted to have in the production or the composition for the theme song, I was thinking about various other shows that I really liked and what they did really well. I also wanted to keep the theme song quite short, like a minute or so, because I get fed up with some opening credits that tend to last about a billion years. So I wanted to keep it tight, I wanted to keep it thematic, and I wanted it to be similar to other stylish shows that I enjoy. So my first thought was taking inspiration from Stranger Things, a very stylish show and something that I get a lot of inspiration from, but they use a lot of these synthesizers, these 80s synthesizers. I don't own any actual physical instruments, notably. I own a violin, but I'm not very good at it. So I mostly use software synthesizers and FL Studio, which is the program that you see open behind me here. But that does mean I have access to this vast array of software synthesizers that can make that exact sort of sound. So before I even started composing anything, I knew I wanted a sort of blump, bunk, 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 a bouncy, plunky synthesizer to lead in to the piece. Now, what this synthesizer is a synthesizer called Synth 1. I'm not going to go super deep into all the specifics of this. Maybe I'll make a more in-depth video if people are interested, but currently it is just a software synthesizer that makes this noise. And that leads in the beginning and plays throughout the whole thing. That's very Stranger Things. Whenever you listen to Stranger Things music, it's got this driving synthesizer underneath it. At least it has in my experience. Beyond that, the second thought that I had was, I want this to have cello. For some reason, I really love cello. It makes a great sort of more interesting melody line than if you use violin, because lots of people use violin. And I thought it was more interesting and more sort of noir than a synthesizer melody line would be, so I eventually wrote the melody line. That melody line then needed a lot to back it up. I loved how sort of spooky it was and dramatic, and it was really fitting the theme, the style that I was looking for. But I also wanted to keep leaning into that Stranger Things-y synthesizer world, and I wanted to add some odd elements to make it really sort of urban and fantasy-like. Eventually, I added some synthesizer strings, specifically a string synth, that East-West Composer Cloud now has, that plays some chords throughout. I also am a huge fan of just throwing a teensy violin, like just the entire violin section playing an incredibly high note, but very softly. And that you can hear in a lot of my music that I compose. I think it really just automatically creates a dramatic texture to any piece. Also, for drama, it's always good to have these huge cinematic drums. Since this is the theme, it starts letting the cello take control, and it's really just having that melody play through, and all the drum is doing is this big boom, boom on the downbeat. But then during the chorus, when all the rest of the strings join in, the drums pick up and start going doom, chetta doom, chetta doom. Also, in order to make those big Hollywood transitions, you have to do a lot of risers. Rise and hit is what I tend to use, which is a Native Instruments complete contact library that is truly, truly wonderful. Those words probably didn't mean anything to anybody, but rise and hit is quite useful. I used this one, and it sounds like this. Also, to include more Stranger Things-y weirdness, I have an arpeggiator synthesizer. In the end, I also added this really weird texture that just adds some oddness to the whole thing. And then finally, to round it all off, right at the end, the strings all come in to join the cello, and it adds a bunch of texture. So all in all, I hope you enjoyed my explanation of the theme song and how I composed it. I may go in deeper if you're interested in the end. But that is the theme song for Hunted. And I hope you join us. If you're interested in seeing the entire production come together, head over to our Indiegogo page and donate whatever you can. And we'll see you in the shadows.